Morning, everybody. Today we're going to be doing our lesson 10.6 in our math book. Remember that you can do it digitally as well if you want to sign on to Pearson. Pearson Realize VESD. Students need to enter their user ID, which is their student ID number, at VESD-CA, and then the password is their user ID repeated again. So I'm going to go over our lesson for today, and today we are still decomposing and composing numbers 17, 18, and 19, so we're still working in those teen numbers. You want to make sure that your kiddo can recognize all three of these numbers, tell you what they are, and tell you what two numbers make them. So we're going to start today with our solve and share. Remember, this is more of a hands-on problem, so they will need 2 color crayons to complete this today. So go ahead and have your kiddo grab 2 color crayons. And what they're going to do is show a way to make 18. And when they show a way to make 18, they have to make a 10. So we always want to make a 10 first when we're dealing with our teens for this lesson. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my crayons out, and I'm going to use red and blue. So I'm going to make my 10 by coloring it in. Now I tell students all the time they can X them if that makes it easier. I'm counting as I'm Xing them. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to say, okay, I was able to make 10. Now, one of the things that I forgot is I forgot to write the number that we were making first. So right here, I need to say with my pencil, I need to say what number I'm making. And again, we are making 18 today. You make an 18 with a 1 and an 8. Okay, so now that I know I'm making 18, I would say, okay, what's one way we could make 18? We're going to go ahead and color in 10 of our cubes here first. And after we've colored in 10 of our cubes, we're going to write that number with that color crayon, 10. So I know I need 10 to make 18. How many more do I need to get to 18? So now I'm going to get my other color. I'm going to use blue for this. So I have 10 already, and you're going to see some kids will struggle with remembering that they had 10. Some kids will automatically know that 10 and 8 make 18. So some kids will need to recount this depending on where they're at developmentally. That's okay. What we're trying to get them to do is remember that this is 10, and we need to count on from there. 10, what comes next? 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So again, like I said, some kids will automatically know that 10 and 8 make 18. Some kids will now need to count these blue X's. So we know we had 10 red X's. How many more blue X's did I draw to get to 18? So you'll have kiddos come back and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're trying to master that skill of counting on, which really is a first grade skill. So if your kiddo's not doing great with that right now, don't stress, don't worry. Developmentally, it is definitely more of a 6 and 7-year-old's mind that's ready to do that. Okay, so then we have them repeat or reread the problem. So we say 18 equals 10 plus 8. What are our two parts? 10 and 8. What is our whole? 18. Okay, we're going to go to the next page. Okay, so here's our sample problem for the day. We're really doing the same exact thing. We're going to be using 2 colors to make the number here. So you can ask your kiddo, what number are we making? They should say 17. How do you make a 17? A 1 and a 7. Tell them we always want to make our 10 first, and in this problem they're using blue to make 10 so they can count these cubes, and you can count them with them. We have 10 cubes. How many more did we need to get to 17? One of the things I try to get them to start recognizing is that the 7 becomes a part of this 10. This 7 fills into that ones place. And that's something that we would play with when we do our modeling every single morning with our math manipulatives. Since we don't have that ability to do that right now, you can talk about it. You can have them know that the ones place for the 0 here gets replaced by the 7. Some of the kids will automatically pick up on that, and some of the kids, again, developmentally won't see that yet. So then we're taking these cubes and we're putting them into a 10 frame. So we've got 10 cubes here, so we should fill up an entire 10 frame. So we should automatically know we have 10 once we see it in the 10 frame. I love the frames because they're a great visual way to see patterns and numbers, which was what we're trying to get the kids to do, is be able to subitize quickly and easily without having to count. So then we have 7 red cubes that we need to fill into this 10 frame, and we know that we can take 5 and fill them up right here in that first row because we know this is a 5 frame, and we add 2 more to get to 7. Again, some kids will be able to do that automatically mentally because that's where they're at. Some kids will need to count each cube into place in that frame. Either way is fine. So we know now that we have, to make 17, we have 10 blue cubes plus 7 red cubes. So 17 equals 10 plus 7. So again, we're decomposing because we have a whole and we're breaking it into 2 parts. If it's reversed, we would be composing. So if these 2 numbers were over here and the whole was on this side, we'd be composing. This is called decomposing. Okay, so our guided practice today is going to be doing just that. We're going to be counting how many we have all together. We're going to be writing that number, 18. And I'm not going to fill this bottom part out because it's already there for you. So same thing, count the whole, ask them how many cubes we have all together, how many blue cubes do we have, write that number, how many red cubes do we have, write that number. We know that 10 and 8 needs to be drawn into the 10 frames, and then we need to read the entire problem out loud. 18 equals 10 plus 8. Okay, so on this I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of with you, and then I think you'll have the hang of it with the guided practice. So on 2 apple, we are going to be making, down here we have to see what colors we're or what numbers we're making. So always make sure you read the directions down at the bottom to your kiddo. So have students on 2 and 3 fish color 10 squares blue to show 10 ones, and then draw 10 blue squares in the top 10 frame. Have them color the remaining cubes in the train red to show more ones. Count them and then draw red squares in the bottom 10 frame. Then have them write an equation to match the picture. Okay, so in this they're going to have to count the 10 first. We're going to fill in the 10, and then we're going to have the remainder that gets filled in here for the second part, and then we'll know what our whole is. So again, some kids will want to do the whole first because it goes in order for them. Okay, and some kids will want to do the decomposing first. I don't really care which way they do it. If I was doing it in the classroom, I would probably have them do the 10 first because it's easy to see the parts then for that automaticity and math subitizing these numbers once they get into the frame, but that's not how they have to do it. So I'm going to do it that way. So I'm going to get my red, and I'm going to count 10. And I'm just going to do a line right now. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to say, okay, how many red counters did we count? We counted 10. Do we have enough to fill up a 10 frame? We do. So let's put our red 10 of our counters into that 10 frame. Again, they can count each one individually, or they can know automatically 10 is how we fill up the 10 frame. There's 10 there. This is what you really want to work towards, knowing that there's 10 in that 10 frame. Okay, so now that we know we have 10, we need to continue to count our cubes using the next color. So I'm going to use blue, and I'm going to count what I have remaining. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to fix this one. So how many blue cubes did I count? I counted 9. So now I'm going to put those 9 blue cubes into my 10 frame. And again, you'll have some kids who need to count this out. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You'll have some kids that know they leave 1 empty because 1 less than 10 is 9. Either way is fine. Okay, now we need to actually go in and fill in our addition sentence here. So I'm going to ask the kiddos, well, what number did we make? So again, you might have some kiddos who have to individually count these to know that there is 19 there. You will have some kids know. You can ask them how many are in this frame, 10. How many more did we add here? 9. You will have some kids that know that 10 and 9 make 19. You'll have some kids that that don't need to count these. They'll say 10, and then they need to go and count these and count on 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. We made 19. So we're going to write our whole first. How do I make a 19? A 1 and a 9. Okay, and what two parts did we use to make 19? So now they're going to say, well, I had 10 in this 10 frame, so I know how I need to make a 10 with a 1 and a 0. Okay, and I had 9 in this 10 frame, so I need to write a 9 in this part. I'm going to reread my sentence, my adding sentence here. 19 equals 10 plus 9. Okay, so it does take some time depending on where your kiddo's at developmentally. You'll see that some kids need to recount these multiple times because they're just not subitizing, their brain is not there yet. Don't stress, don't worry, let them do what they need to do to be able to figure those out. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to get our two colors. We're going to automatically want to put 10 into a group here, so we're going to ask the students to count 10 of these counters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're also going to see how your kiddo's one-to-one counting is on this. Some of them like to move their pencil quickly and they'll be counting slowly. Some of them will move their pencil slowly and be counting too quickly. We tell them we need to say the number as we're making the line. That's how we count with one-to-one representation. 1. Okay, we don't go too fast, we don't go too slow. So I have 10 now. So now that I have 10, I'm going to go in and complete my 10 frame. So you're going to have them use that same color crayon to draw their counters in the 10 frame. So again, wherever your kiddo's at, it's fine. If they need to count these out, okay. If they know that that's 10 just by filling it, okay. We're not done yet because we still have some counters we still need to count here. So now we're going to go back and get our second color. And I'm going to continue to count how many more I need with blue cubes. So I'm going to count as I cross off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, how many blue cubes did I have? I had 7, so I need to put 7 into this 10 frame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Now that I've completed my 10 frames, I can go in and figure out how many cubes I have all together. So again, some kids will know this is 10 and this is 7, and they'll be able to say that's 17 automatically. Some kids will need to count, okay? Some will know this is 10, I need to count 7 more. That is fine if they're counting on 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. How do we make a 17? A 1 and a 7. Okay, what are the two parts that we used to make 17? We used 10 in this 10 frame. How do you make a 10? A 1 and a 0. Okay. We used 7 in this 10 frame. Okay. And they can use their crayons to write these two parts in. That visual color coordinating sometimes helps them as well. So we're going to repeat this or re-say this sentence. 17 equals 10 plus 7. Okay. And we're going to go down to number 4. So in number 4, they've given us the counters and they've given us the whole. We just need to know the two parts that make them that number. So this one's a little bit easier, a little less time consuming. The kiddos should know again that this part is 10. So I have 10 in this 10 frame. A 1 and a 0 is how I make 10. I need to count these to find out how many I have to make 18. So you can have them count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Some kids will automatically know that's 8 because they know 5 and 3 makes 8, or they know that 2 less than 10 makes 8. Okay, so then we go and repeat and reread this. 18 equals 10 plus 8. Okay, so we are done decomposing for the guided practice. Next is the independent practice. So they're doing the same exact thing that we just did. They're going to tell you the two parts that make 17 and the two parts that make 19. Okay, so I'm not going to go through and do all of this with you. Your kiddo is should be able to do this now independently. Make sure you're watching them. You want to look for number reversals. We always tell kiddos, don't let those numbers trick you. Make sure they're going the right way. On number 7 down here, it says have students use counters to show 18, draw them in a double 10 frame, write 2 equations to match the picture. Then have them tell how the picture and equation show 10 ones and some more ones. Okay, so on this problem, we're going to be making 18. So we can write the 18 in for our whole first. So you're going to ask them, what number are we making? We're making 18. Okay, where should we write it in our first equation? We want to make sure that they recognize the equal sign, and since the equal sign is on this side, the 18 has to go over here. This is a decomposing problem or a whole part problem. So the whole part goes on this side. Okay, and then sometimes you'll see kids recognize right away, well, on this side, I'm going to have to write the 18 over here. If they write that 18 right there, that's fine. Okay, but we're going to focus on this one first. So we have to make 18. How are we going to do that? We're going to need some counters. So let's go ahead and start by making a group of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I have 10 counters, but I'm not done. I need to get to 18. So how many more counters should I add to get to 18? So I'm going to get my other color here. I like to use the 2 colors because it really varies. It shows them those 2 parts. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Make sure you tell your kiddo we got to count on. We can't forget about these. 10. What comes next? 11. Okay, so now that we've made 18 with our counters, we can go through and find the 2 parts. So how many groups of 10 did we make to make 18? Well, we made 1 group of 10 right here. How many are in that group of 10? There are 10 counters. How do I make a 10? A 1 and a 0. Okay. How many more counters did we need to make 18? Again, some kiddos will remember and know, and they'll write that 8 right inside there. Some will need to count over again. Okay, so if they're counting over again, that's fine. Okay, but we know that there are 8 in this 10 frame, so we need to write 8 here. Use a different color so they can see that. Okay. So we know that 10 and 8 make 18. Now I'm going to ask them, okay, is there another way we can write that? We wrote this as a whole part problem. Let's check this adding sentence down here. Is it the same, whole part, or did they switch it? Part, whole. So now we need to move our parts down into the part section down here. So same thing, we have 10 and 8. So I had how many in this 10 frame? 10. How many in this 10 frame? 8. Ten and 8 makes what number? We should remember we are making 18. How do you make an 18? A 1 and an 8. You'll see some kids reverse these and they'll want to write an 8 and a 1. That's completely normal as well. Okay, so that's what math looks like for the day. You're welcome to go on and do some more practice with the homework if you think your kiddo needs it. The most important thing with this is that they're recognizing the 2 parts, that they're making the 10 and identifying that 10. It's a build up into place value. We really don't hit too much place value in first grade. They just kind of start talking about 10s and 1s with numbers to 20. So I wouldn't stress too much about the place value language unless your kiddo's ready for that. Okay, and that is it for today. Please let me know if you have any questions about the math.